Hey, thank you for listening to Spoiler Sport. This is Jason Purdue. I'm
Hi.
the host of your show, and to my right and my left, I got my
Your front.
my front. There are only two of us in here. My partner here, Mr. Chris Ringle. How are you doing, buddy?
Fine. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Just this is our first episode, and want to do a little show here about what new and amazing in the world of genre. I figure we'll probably eventually get to doing, things like books, comics, maybe video games.
Books are gross.
They are gross. My kid doesn't want to read anymore. It breaks my heart. I'm like, try to do the thing my mom did where I'm always like, oh, they can transport you anywhere. And he's like, I don't like to read, Dad, unless it has pictures. I'm like, you're 7, you're the best reader in your class. I don't care.
See, no, you got to trick them. You got to get them into a movie series that has been out, and then you can be like, Did you like that? I mean, and I use Harry Potter as an example because that's the best example I can think of. But like, oh, did you like Harry? I love Harry Potter. Then you can say, oh wow,
That's how he talks.
did you know that I was like a little southern? Like, hey Dad, I sure do.
Who the hell's your mom? I tried that with. He was really into Minecraft. So Max Brooks, who did World War Z, wrote a Minecraft book, and I read that with him, and we'd take turns page reading, back and forth, and it was really, really actually very good. And I tried to use that, and he liked it, and I've been trying to get him to read it again on his own, but we'll see how it goes. So.
But I mean, that's I would think like a good trick is is to get people to read those because like reading the Harry Potter books, it's so much stuff.
Yes.
So much stuff that they didn't put in the movies. I mean, you get that with every book, but like that's just one of those where it's like, oh no, like did you like Harry? I do. I love Harry Potter. They're great.
It could be intimidating in a way for some people.
It's like, and they're big books, but it's like, who's rushing you?
Yeah,
take all the time you need.
That's true.
It's not a book report.
I've been reading the Gunslinger series for about 20 years now. So.
Well, shoot, he was writing it for 50 years.
Yeah, so I guess I'm ahead of the curve on that one. Are you a gamer at all? I don't actually know. You said you were playing football the other day, I think I saw.
I just got my Xbox back, which I've got to get a hold of them. Because I'm like, I sent this off with a box, and I got it back without a box. That's weird.
Right.
And I get it that that's probably like a big farm, like a fixing farm, but I'm like, you don't have like the shoes with the shoelaces? You don't have the box next to my... I mean, I don't get it. Like, it's
what
weird.
else is missing, right?
Yeah, it's just weird. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I'm old school. Like, I used to do all the time. Like, I had a 5200, I had a Genesis. I had a Game Boy, I guess I have 2 Game Boys now. I had a Game Gear. I had a Lynx, like the handheld Atari.
Yeah.
I had a Saturn.
So you had a lot then.
Yeah,
really.
PS1. Now we got a Wii, Switch, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and a Wii U in the house.
Okay.
And then I think my wife has like a PS2 somewhere maybe.
It sounds like you're almost like a bigger gamer than I am.
See, but here's the thing: as I get frustrated, like Code Veronica on Dreamcast kind of killed me because like it was so hard, and I reach a point where it's harder than it is fun, and I stop.
Yeah.
And I'm about at that point in Dying Light, which I love, and I'm like, this isn't as much fun. It's still kind of fun, but it's not as much fun.
Kind of loses the interest a little
Yeah,
bit.
so I love playing games, but I love Animal Crossing. Because that is
cool.
super just like laid back.
Zen, kind of.
Going around,
Yeah.
seeing my neighbors, doing little tasks.
Yeah.
Check in, check out.
When I started playing Minecraft with my son, I was always like, I don't want to play this game. And I feel bad, like my first boy, he always wanted me to play. I'm like, it's not my game. There's no goal. There's no... But I finally broke down and started playing with my youngest boy. And it's like Zen, and you can create things. And I'll be up late building stuff, and he's not even playing, so...
I tried, like, I downloaded the app for it, like, and I was like, oh, play it on my tablet. And I'm like, Minecraft is not for me.
Yeah.
It's just not. Like, I just can't. It's too open, I think, where it's just like, I don't want to dig and, like, build, and, like, I just don't.
I thought so, too, and then I don't know.
Maybe I could get into it.
It got its hooks in me, but... I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, you might know this. Chris is a huge horror fan.
No.
So, yes, he's a huge horror guy. He's written horror novels, short stories, done some films now, some short films. did a horror convention.
Horror Baroque.
I think he's murdered a few people. I'm not sure.
It's on the list.
Yeah, it's up there. So do you play the horror games a lot mostly, or?
Not really. I mean, I am not like the reason Dying Light, for anybody who wouldn't know, is a zombie game, but my wife got me an Xbox One S for Christmas, and I wanted it because of Red Dead Redemption 2, because Red Dead's one of my, if not my favorite game. Like, I just adore it.
Great game.
So she got me that, and we were at like one of those used stores, and I was just like, I don't have any other games, so I bought like Madden 17. Which is funny because then you're like, oh crap, this is the 2016 actually, but for $1.99. I'm like, I haven't played a football, and which it's funny, it's still years old, but I'm like, gosh, it's been a minute since I played a football game, so this looks way and plays way better than I'm used to. And then I got Dying Light because it was $12, and I'm playing it, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun. You're running around. It's like a parkour game, so you're jumping on buildings, running around, and killing zombies. It's a first person. I'm like, okay, and I'm like, gosh, this is real similar to Dead Island, which I love those two Dead Island games. And I'm like, gosh, it's really similar. And I kept saying that to my wife, and I finally looked at it. I'm like, oh, it's the same developer. Like they had pieced out of the second Dead Island game, and were like, yeah, no, we're good. And they made this, and it's essentially Dead Island.
Like, oh, that's cool.
So
I didn't see. I bought Dead Island for the 360, and I actually just never played it. Not because I didn't want to, but it was one of these things where like I was buying presents for the kids, and then I saw it, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna get a little present for myself. And then it got hid in the closet with the kids' presents, and then yada yada yada. And now I have a PS4, so I just haven't played it, but I will play it. I kept my 360. So.
It's really fun. Like it's funny because I loved it until it has a couple like missions, and this Dying Light does too, but they're optional, which I appreciate. Where you have to like escort people, and I'm like, this is no fun. And like the escort mission, the big one in Dead Island wrecked me because you basically have to take this like shaman. Like through this village, and you're getting attacked by all of these things, and then you start getting higher level zombies that are attacking you, and you like I kept dying, and I just finally like just like tapped out. I'm like, I'm good, I'm done. And then they released a patch because I was like, oh yeah, no, that's super hard. So they patched it, and then I like blasted through the rest of it. So I really liked it. Like yeah, I got a kick out of both games. But yeah, it's. And there's a couple zombies in that one. Like there's a zombie in Dying Light that freaks me out just because it only comes out at night. And I'm at a part where you're out in night missions, and they like scream and they're like, and their face opens up and they eat you and just horrible stuff. But like there's a couple zombies in Dead Island that are kind of freaky. So.
Well, I just saw an article that Dying Light 2 is coming out this year. So
yeah, which I've been trying not to see. Every time, like, I literally went into this blind. No idea what it was. Yeah. And it's funny because I'm playing it, I'm like, do-do-do-do-do, and I'm, like, accidentally seeing, like, you go in, there's, like, all the download pack stuff. I'm like, there's cars you can drive? Why on earth would I drive a car? This is a super, like, I'm in, like, they call it the slums. Like, the area, it's, like, super impoverished, like, row housing and all this, like, where would I get cars on drive? But I've seen moments from later in the game, which I just haven't gotten past. I'm like, oh gosh, like you get to huge buildings and all kinds of crazy. I'm like, I want to go there.
Are you on a rail in the game, or is it kind of open world?
It's open. Like literally, you can climb kind of any building. Like I was stuck for a minute so there's a spanner bridge, a couple of them, and you have to like. And the bridges are broken. They destroyed the bridge so the zombies couldn't cross.
Right.
But you have to get onto like the middle section. So the only way that you could do it, and it's a level up game, it's kind of like you're building up skills and stuff, is you would have to climb up. And I mean, you're talking like it's way up and you fall, you this and that, blah, blah. And it gets a little claustrophobic. And I was trying that and stuff, and I just wasn't making it. Well, I leveled up to a point where you have a grappling hook and you just go throw it up and just go way up. So, you could, I mean, generally speaking, you can go, I mean, there's points where I've reached where it's like, yeah, no, that part of the game world doesn't exist, where you just like bump. Like it's like,
right.
No.
But I played like, I got really big into Fallout 4. My son got me playing it, and I'm usually resistant to games like that because I don't typically have the time to get through have a whole video game experience playing a game. That's why I tended towards like sports games, things like that, where I could sit down for 30 minutes, have a good complete experience, and then go about my business or whatever. But man, I got so into that, and that has a lot of horror aspects to it too. And it has a post-apocalyptic setting, which I love. Have you played any of their?
Mm-mm.
Like the style of it is amazing. It is such a cool like retro, kind of I don't know, sardonic humor to it. But it's a very cool game. But it's the same way. It's like you can just keep playing, and then eventually you kind of like, I'm gonna take a break for a while, and then not play it for a month, then you go back to it and stuff.
I get in that. Like, I am on the Switch. I am in the middle of the Zelda game, which is amazing. I reached a point, and that's like, I mean, you can take on the main boss like right out of the bat. It's just like, if you figure it out, go ahead. But like, I'm trying to still kind of, like I'm at like the mini bosses, and then kind of get to Ganon and stuff. But like, it's amazing. I adore that game, and I started playing LA Noire.
How was that?
It's fun. I like it. I like it a lot. The driving's kind of a pain in the butt, but you can bypass it. But it's weird because part of that game is you're a detective and you're solving crimes and stuff, and it's in the 50s. And like, when you arrest people, you have to interrogate them. And I'm worried that, like, because you can get the interrogation wrong and kind of flummox things. And I'm, like, freaking out. I'm like, I don't want to get, like, not finish the game or get a terrible ending because I got, like, wrong questions. Like, because you can kind of watch them to see if there's tells, if they're kind of giving anything away. But, like, half the time it's just kind of a 1 out of 3 guess. So.
Yeah. Well, the thing, too, like, you're talking about LA Noire, for me, like, Fallout. I played a game, Mafia 3, I think, takes place in, like, post-Vietnam New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
And setting can just make a game. It's like, even if the gameplay itself is, you don't want it to be subpar, but just average, the setting can steal a show for me.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Red Dead 2 with the DLC, because... Like, there's been rumors that they think... Because, I mean, the last one had, like, the zombie...
Yeah, the Undead Redemption.
Yeah, yes. Which was awesome, which was fantastic. And, like, there's parts of Red Dead 2, they're set in the bayou and stuff, and there's thoughts that there's going to be zombies again. I mean, which makes sense. I mean, that was the big add-on. But I'm almost more excited...
Or aliens this time.
Well, have you seen any of the kind of weird...
No.
See, that's the thing. The fun thing about some of those games, like in Red Dead, like Red Dead Redemption has a town. It's a ghost town, and like you'll hear things and you'll see things, and like there are things that aren't there, but like there's all kinds of like gamers have like come out, made up legends and stuff because it's a creepy ghost town, like a straight up ghost town, and there's that kind of stuff in the new one. Where there's a subplot about UFOs.
That's interesting.
And Undead had, like, one of the things you had to do was hunt down Bigfoot, which was a super, anyway who's ever played, like, super depressing, super messed up side quest, just like, ugh.
Well, it's interesting because Fallout series has had an ongoing, like you said, super side thing of aliens. And it seems like I've read online some kind of like, I don't know, not conspiracy theory, but a theory that like the worlds were linked in some way, but I don't think they're the same game company. But
oh, weird. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't think so. Yeah, because it's Rockstar is the other one.
Yeah, but it was something like that.
I think Bethesda is Fallout. I think.
Maybe. I don't remember, but anyway.
I love that kind of stuff though, because like I watched the movie Following. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I've seen it. I haven't watched it.
It came out last year, and a great, super good movie.
Oh, it was a movie? I thought it was
It was a movie that came out last year.
Okay.
And I want to say it's... let me look at it. I'm pretty sure it's called Following. Look it up real quick.
So I know there was a Hulu series. Had Aaron, a guy from Breaking Bad.
No, not Following. Oh my gosh. That's something in another movie. What the heck's the name of it? Anyways, it's a movie, and my apologies, my memory is fractured. Following is an old Christopher Nolan movie.
Oh,
like
yes,
his
yes,
first
yes.
movie.
Yeah,
I thought the name was Following. It came out last year, and it is it's not really found footage. It's like a first-person film. I mean, footage isn't lost.
Right.
But about a young girl that disappears, and her father is trying to figure out where she went through her social media, through online, through all of this stuff.
Was it John
Searching.
Doe?
Yes, Searching is what
I
it's
just
called.
saw that. I didn't see it, but I saw the...
And it's great. And
Cool.
I wanted to see it anyways, but I read, like, that people had realized that in the background of the whole movie is an alien invasion storyline.
What?
And it's great.
Is it true, or is
Oh,
it
no,
just
it's
people,
totally,
like, adding
no,
their
it's
own
totally
thing to it?
there.
No kidding.
They intended
I'm going to rent it
they
tonight now.
intended it as a gag.
Oh, really?
But, like, it's really cool. Like, it's pretty fun, like, because it plays kind of out in the background of everything, and you're like, oh, weird.
That's the best kind of things to do with movies. You get that, you get the surface story, but then you kind of get that meta thing in the background, and it just makes it such a richer experience to me, I think.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's what, like, people debated for a long time whether Donnie Darko, like, was real or in his in his mind, and there were kind of tells to the movie, kind of what was going on and everything.
Right.
So,
see, that's one I have to go back and rewatch. I watched it when I was in college, and I was still pretty young, and I was kind of like, I wasn't quite in the. I'm not a big movie analyzer. I mean, I go and I just like absorb the experience of it. I don't like they're trying to say this and that. And I mean, and I can do that. But it's like I have to make myself do it. Like I had to make myself analyze like Shakespeare or whatever. I don't just naturally do it a lot. I mean, a lot of movies like that, like Quiet Place. That was one I just wanted to just envelop myself, and I love that so much. And I'm sure there were things going on in it, but I don't think about it, I guess. Maybe that's why I'm kind of not as critical of movies. I'm a little more easygoing.
I mean, like, like Quiet Place, I mean, there's always sub-stuff, but it's usually, like, something like Quiet Place is more emotional, and it's not as much plot. I'm trying to think of another good one. I mean, there's kind of, like, Pulp Fiction is one where there's something obviously going on in the background. Like, you don't know quite what's going on with Marcellus.
Yes.
Because he has this weird case and no one knows what's in it. And then he has, like, the weird wound
Band-Aid
at the
on the back.
yeah. Like, lots of weird stuff that, like, and it doesn't matter, and I don't even know if he knows, or, like, David Lynch has kind of sub-things. But with David Lynch, it's more...
Similar sensibility.
It's Lynch, it's more kind of surrealism, and it's more, like, an embracing of surrealism and just, like, the absurd. So it doesn't necessarily connect to anything. It's just that there's just absurdity even in the most horrifying moments. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of movies, I don't know. Are you you watch Oscars at all?
I watched the end because there's nothing on. I followed it, but I was more into the Fango Chainsaw Awards, frankly.
Oh well, I can't believe you.
Which is where Toni Collette finally got recognized for her work in Hereditary. So
fair. That's actually that movie was amazing, by the way.
Which is funny because I saw a lot of people like it was terrible, and I'm like, I laugh
How
at
can
that.
you say it's terrible?
Well, I laugh because I get when you don't like stuff. There's lots of movies I like. I don't like Jurassic Park movies. I just don't. Not my thing. Am I gonna say they're terrible? No, they're not terrible. People need to go see terrible movies. They need to actively see these things to see what a terrible movie is. It's like there's lots of I don't like.
How about the first one?
I don't like any of the Jurassic Parks.
None of them?
No.
Oh man, when I saw that first time seeing realistic dinosaurs, I was like,
I saw it and it was a bad movie experience, but I didn't even like the movie. But then it was just like a whole experience was bad. But yeah, I'd never seen more than once, and I've seen the newer one. Like I've seen the last two new ones because my wife loves those movies, and it's not my bag.
Do you think people didn't like Hereditary because it was a little too trippy for them, or because spoiler, it doesn't have the happiest of endings?
I think it's because I think it's because it's weird because it goes to a strange place. It's not what you think.
Yeah.
Like the movie I thought it was isn't what it was, and it's just. I mean, I always laugh. Like to me, movies are like my movie going kind of like opinion is this. Is like I remember when I worked at a retail job, and it was '99, and Blair Witch came out. Blair Witch was my favorite movie of all time, and I just adored it. And there was this guy there who, we were talking stuff, and he was like, "Ugh, I hated it. It was stupid." And I literally was like, "So what's your favorite movie?" And he's like, "Freddy." And I'm like, "Okay, but like, there's 3 of those that are actively good.
Yeah.
The first, the third, and the last. And then the rest are okay.
Yeah.
To mediocre.
Right.
So it's like, I mean, it's people's taste.
It was a cash cow.
Yeah, it's people's taste. Like, they're into whatever they're into. So.
Right. But I think the more into something you are, like a genre, whether it's horror or superheroes or whatever, you're going to have a broader, interest base. You're not going to just keep yourself stuck to one sort of like, I just need that supernatural slasher. I just need the,
I mean, I think with that guy, I think he's one of the dudes that loved Jokey Freddy. And, like, loved the gags. Loved to, like, oh, you have an eating disorder. I'm going to force feed you all this food and your face is going to get big and you're going to explode. And just, like, it's ha ha ha, like that kind of stuff.
Right.
And, like, the more gaggy that...
Which for the time was pretty avant-garde or what have you.
Oh, yeah, like, I mean, they did weird stuff. And, like, Robert Englund, stands up for the series. I think in a perfect world, some of it could have worked, but the makeup got lazier and kind of less frightening.
Yeah.
Like, he became more of a comedian than a kind of terror icon.
Yes.
Like, so it's just, but again, like, that's what people wanted. They wanted, like,
they leaned into it, yeah.
That's why a lot of people like, and it's Chucky.
Right.
But Chucky's always been that. Like, he's always been, like, kind of, like, off-kilter, like, yeah! Like,
right.
kind of like the Jokers. Like, the funniest jokes to them are the ones that no one laughs at.
Yeah. See, I never got into the Chucky, the whole doll thing. I'd punt the doll. I never, But so the Oscars were last night, and it was a pretty big one for the genre world, I guess you could say, because genre movies don't get much action in the mainstream awards press.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was it last year or the year before? Get Out was kind of a...
Last year, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it made some noise.
I'm trying to think. Last year, it would have been last year, and then Del Toro had won for Shape of Water.
Shape of Water, which was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a fantastic film. Absolutely deserving of it. And it kind of surprised me that it won, to be honest.
I almost feel like, and I thought about this today, Oscar should be off a year. Like, you should, so 2019 should be judging the movies from, like, I guess it'd be technically 2017.
Give it time to...
Because, frankly, like, they're some of these movies that get awards, and you're like, okay, cool, like, movie X was super popular and people liked it, but is that a movie that, like, literally the best film of the year should be a movie that will stand the test of time? That'll be like, like, you can go to in 10, 20 years ago. I mean, because you can still get stuff out of, like, super... in the moment, like, scary movie. There's people that are going to love scary movie of that series forever. And they'll be like 20, 30 years, like, oh, it's still great. But, like, those are movies of their time. Like, Oscar Best Film, it should be genre, like, set to the side. It should be a movie that stands above and just, like, is something that, like, timeless. You're like, oh, yeah, wow.
And compared to, I think probably compared to its own, like, as an example of a horror movie, as an example of a drama movie, because the idea that every Best Picture has to be a serious drama is silly. That doesn't mean it's the Titanic, huge bank, average movie in my opinion. It won Best Oscar.
I like the second VHS tape. Where it's just like basically an hour of death. That's what I liked. Where it's just everybody dying for an hour.
Well, and I will freely admit I saw Titanic 5 times because I always just want to go to movies, and everybody was like, "Oh, I want to see it. I'll go with you." Okay, but you get to awards time, there's no way. It was a good technical achievement, but is it masterful storytelling? Like you said, is it a movie that people want to go back to and watch? I mean, there's a lot of other movies that were. Same thing with Avatar. I mean, Avatar was, like, huge. Yeah. It's, like, still the biggest box office all time. How many people will go back and watch it?
Yeah, it's good, but it's definitely not a movie that you sit down and like, I need to watch some Avatar. I mean, the best example from last night is Driving Miss Daisy won the year Do the Right Thing came out.
Right.
How many people sit down and go back to Driving Miss Daisy? And I liked it. I remember I saw it at the time, and it's a fine movie, but it's like, it's
I
not a
actually
movie.
saw it in film school. It was one of the ones we had to see, but it was, it wasn't groundbreaking, really.
And there's better examples of that. I mean, honestly, that kind of stuff. Like,
they
so
kind
it's
of played
weird.
safe.
Oh yeah, it's just funny because it's like there's better examples of like period movies or movies that deal with race relations or whatever the heck you want to like, whatever their point of being for that film was. So
well, and I saw last night that Spike Lee and Jordan Peele got pissed off when Green Book won Best Oscar because they were like, "Oh, it's not a good depiction. It's Driving Miss Daisy Part 2," and I haven't seen it, so I can't
From what
speak
I've,
to it.
yeah, it could be a good movie, and I'm assuming it's a good movie. I have zero interest, but the criticism comes from they made the oh god, what's his
Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, it sounds like Viggo Mortensen. They made his character more important to the story than it needed to be, so that he became at least as important as the focus, which was this black man who was trying to basically by grit and by strength of conviction just kind of go to the South and kind of do this tour when people didn't want him there. And they made it more about kind of this hero white guy, and there's this creepy narrative that runs in Hollywood and in fiction stuff of the savior white guy that kind of saves the.
Well, that's kind of a classic trope for going way back.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you think about it, and this is my opinion. I mean, take it for what you will. Since the beginning of Hollywood, all these things have been made by white men.
Yeah.
And when people write stories, they typically put themselves in the hero role, knowingly or not. So I think that kind of affects it. I think now people can be smarter than that. I mean, we're supposedly a more enlightened, a woke time.
Well, and I think people we're at a point now where people want to tell their own stories. They're tired of having, like a white guy who knows some chicks telling a story about women for women, and he may do knock it out of the park. But the idea is that it's nice to have someone who can empathize and understand and really speak to things that otherwise you're kind of have to fictionalizing in yourself. Like, oh, I guess it must be like this. So, and then, I get it. It's just because I haven't. I saw Black Panther out of the Best Picture nominees because I just don't. I am not a big Oscar person. I love to see when the horror genre, like Greg Cannon, won for makeup, and I've known his career. I've followed it since the 80s when he was doing horror effects and stuff. So that's cool. But generally, I just he's kind of mentioned, the genres don't sci-fi. Sci-fi. I don't know if sci-fi's Avatar would be it, but sci-fi doesn't win. Fantasy, Lord of the Rings, that's it.
Yeah.
Horror got. Did it win Best Picture for Misery or just Best? I can't remember, but Silence of the Lambs, if you consider Silence of the Lambs a horror film.
Yeah.
These genre movies, but again, straight up comedies.
Yeah, they
aren't really and it's funny because I think Hollywood, the Oscars and Oscar voting to me is all about people trying to make themselves look and feel better about themselves. So they're like, oh gosh, you had to wear a costume, a period piece costume, and act in a way that was from the 1800s. Well, clearly, or he had to act in a way as if you had a disability. Then clearly, you are a great actor. It's comic timing is not easy. It's having
it's harder, and a lot of actors would say.
Yeah, and I mean, look at Hereditary. Even if those that don't like it. Toni Collette did a great job because she channeled the pain of loss and going through the act of grieving and stuff.
You totally see the breakdown and all that happening.
It did a good job depicting that. But we'd rather people get all gooey about there's a movie about someone who has a terminal disease and they find love.
Well, and that's kind of one of the jokes. Is if you want to get an Oscar, you got to either have a disease, a mental handicap of some sort.
You're overcoming something.
Yeah, and it's, say with the superhero genre, I get a little bent out of shape. Now, I'm a comic guy and stuff, but I get a little bent out of shape when people start complaining about, there's too many superhero movies and stuff like that. I'm like, if you sit and look and actually count how many superhero movies there are in a given year, a half dozen, and with the amount of money they make, they're funding tons and tons of other movies that are making no other movies that are making no money whatsoever. So it's kind of like biting the hand that feeds you a little bit. And the other thing, I mean, they're the new Western, really.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a fad.
Western had its time, and it was big for years and years and years. And every once in a while, you see a Western pop up on the radar again. I love westerns. I think they're great, but it's.
Well, they finally found ways to tell new stories. Like we reach a point where you can tell a story with superheroes special effects wise. So it's like, wow, we can make these people look like they can do the things, superhuman things that no one could ever do before, and it's believable. And with that, now that you can do that, that's out of the way. It's like, oh, okay, cool. We can tell stories now about these people that, oh, he can lift a car and throw it and stuff, but like, what does it look like inside of that person? Like, that's why I really liked the new Superman movies. And I get people like the Boy in Blue and the Blue Boy Scout and stuff, but I liked that this was someone who was like agonizing over whether or not, like, I have all these powers, I can literally do anything and stop anything on this planet. Should I? Like, he is a god. Like, and it's like, should he? I use these powers. Like, and if I do, and I use it for this over here, it means I can't use it for this over there. So you're making all of these hard, like, so I liked that. And I think, I wish fandom would get its act together. And, like, I think they could have gotten to the Blue Boy Scout. I think they could have gotten to the point where he's okay with himself. Like, oh, okay, this is who I am. Like, I understand. I've got to make sacrifices. Like, I can't save everyone, but the people I save, I'm going to make sure, like...
Right. Justice League is where that should have happened. And he should have been...
They were making the turn. They were like, that was basically like, they showed kind of like agonizing, and then they got to that, and they were kind of making the pivot.
Right.
And we were not going to get a second... They
want it's going to be a while anyway.
They want the Christopher Reeves, like, hey, I'm going to save everyone. Yeah. Yay!
Well, and the thing, too, that was tough for that is, like, the way they portrayed it, where he was already dead and stuff in the beginning of the movie and everything, they portrayed it like he was already this light, and this thing that people, and he wasn't that person yet. And set up to
I kind of like that, though, because it shows our times. That's what we are. As a culture,
that's true.
Is that like if you do something,
hero worshiping.
Yeah, like if you were rich tomorrow, and you were like, I have $1 billion, I'm gonna take $500 million, and I'm gonna give it to Flint, Michigan, to fix everything and do everything great. Everyone oh my gosh, this is the greatest person ever. And then like a month later, you are found like, oh well, he actually killed a bunch of people earlier. It's
right.
Like, but Flint, though. So maybe it's okay.
Well, that's the only thing in America. The only thing they like better than a hero is tearing a hero down.
Yeah.
So that's...
It's like you rebuild them and then,
Yeah, back and forth and a roller coaster and everything.
So, I mean, I know I get where you're coming from. They didn't quite earn that, but, like, I do think that's a sign of the times. Is that we are just a culture that is obsessed with, like, anything like that. Like, oh my gosh. Like, I mean, look at how much press Greta Van Fleet has gotten. Good and bad.
Right.
Because they're the hot new commodity.
Right.
And, like, this has nothing to do with whether they're good or bad. It's just like, oh my gosh, look at there's these young guys, they caught, lightning in a bottle, and they're a big deal. So then, as many people that think they are just the best thing ever, there's at least as many who are like, they're the worst, they're just blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
of course. It's popularity back.
Yeah, that narrative's been done 1,000,000 times over a million years. Like, this is how it is.
I can never stand that. I never understand that. But, I mean, so I guess the big thing was... Black Panther was up for Best Picture, which is the first time a superhero movie has been up for Best Picture. Of course, it didn't win. Yeah. I think we all knew it wasn't going to win. I think I saw some odds, and it was like the lowest odds possible.
Yeah, I think everybody thought Roma would.
Yeah, I think that was probably a big favorite.
Yeah, but then when I saw, like, looking at the list today, Roma won for Best Foreign, and I'm like, oh, obviously they weren't going to give it. I mean, that's how it is too. Is like people aren't going to. They don't generally over award films like that. It's like, oh, here's your award. Like, same thing with Spike Lee. He didn't win Best Director or Best Picture or anything, but I guarantee, like, well, we gave him one, though. He's all right. We gave him an Oscar.
Yeah, and they do play that a little bit. My understanding is the way the awards work is that it's like a pretty complicated thing where you get the ballot, and then you put, like, your first favorite movie, and second favorite, and third favorite, and fourth favorite, and there's like a whole point system applied. So you could conceivably say, what is there? I think there's like 8 pictures in the running now. You could split first place votes evenly, as evenly as you can get, splitting it 8 ways. But then if everybody voted for another movie as their second favorite, then that could take it.
Well, and I mean, let's face it. Look at American voting politically. You'll go into the ballot box and say, like, who's going to be the treasurer for this town? Like, I don't know who Joe Smith is or Barbara Whitfield. I don't. I'm a whatever. I'm a Republican. I'm gonna check that one. So I don't care who they are, or I don't care. I'm just. how many of these movies have they never seen?
Oh,
And they
a
send
lot of
screeners
them.
out. So, but these are busy people. So how many? It's like, I never really had an interest in Black Panther. I just don't think it's gonna be that good. Oh, this movie. Okay, I saw. I mean, like out of 8 movies, I saw 3 of them. I liked this one of the best of the 3. It's like,
especially when you start mixing in the best actress,
Yeah.
best actor, and those movies and stuff. But,
yeah. So I think, I mean, they hold people's hand about this stuff. But I just think that you're gonna get, like I say, like regular voting, a lot of people who just don't take it as seriously. They're just they'd rather have the prestige of like, I am an Oscar voter. It's like, but do you do like all the due diligence? Like, no, I'm just an Oscar voter. And like, I like so and so. I think they should get an Oscar.
Yeah,
It's
they
like,
haven't had anything.
Yeah,
in a
it's
while,
like- I mean, how do they? Who the heck? The bigger question is, who comes up with the? Why did Black Panther get on there, but not Avengers? Like, who makes those decisions? Is my question. Like,
right.
why Roma and not whatever movie? Like, who
that I'm not
makes
100%
that?
sure on. I
Because
don't know how that works.
you think of 1,000 movies that came out,
Yeah, well, totally.
and you're like, oh, that one people like. That one's pretty good. That one, oh, The Favorite. I don't know anybody that saw The Favorite.
Yeah.
Like,
It almost would be better, and they never would because it's not how we work. But if they just said, "Here's our vote for our 8 favorite movies this year," or whatever,
it's. I mean, I think that's the hardest thing is coming up with what movies are going to be awarded. And then it's just, I mean, it's whatever. Like, but again, I got as close as I ever can get to crying when Del Toro won last year, just because like he is such a nerd, and he's such a like he is
Paid
so
his dues.
yeah, and he's just such a seems like such a sweet guy. Like how excited he was about his friend.
And he's an artist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
winning last night, Alfonso Cuarón.
Right.
Like was fun to see, and just like he just loves kind of making movies, just loves that, and it's neat that he and Peter Jackson both won awards now. Because they're both kind of came up the same way, so it's kind of fun.
Right.
Like, it stinks that a lot of these people that I admire and stuff, like, John Carpenter will never win an award. Not an Oscar. Like, maybe when he's dead, like, they'll give him, like, a lifetime achievement, but, like, the things he has, like, changed in Hollywood and stuff, like, film-wise, like, it's people don't always get their due. It is Spike Lee, I mean...
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And that's part of the problem with you only giving out one award, so people are going to get, Glenn Close was up for her 7th nomination. She's never won, and she missed out again this year. And, somebody like that. And I'm sure she's going to get one like the Cecil B. DeMille Award someday.
Yeah,
but, it's just, there's only one award given away for every year.
That's, I mean, I think...
Two, I guess, for each gender.
I think you just have to, like, not worry about that, but I mean, I imagine it's hard. It's kind of like you feel like you should, and everybody says you should be in the Hall of Fame. I'll say for baseball, because that seems like a better, but you don't. But you can get in the what is it, like the not the Legends.
It's like the second chance.
Yeah, it's not the Legends Hall of Fame, but like the older guys and stuff that like it's not the main Hall of Fame. It's like the
veterans get.
Yeah. It's like that kind of a thing. Like, oh, at least I'm in that, which is kind of just like a.
Which in a way, I mean, I feel better about that because that's my peers. You know what I mean? As opposed to just the baseball writers of America. But
I mean, I think all of it with all of that, when you ever get into any kind of voting, there's a bias.
Yeah.
And it's just so I think if you're a fan of film, the Oscars are interesting because it's a celebration of film, and I mean, if nothing else, there's people that will like, and are a lot of people that are like, oh, I've never heard of Roma, I'm gonna go see Roma. Like, obviously, it's like how many people saw Shape of Water last year, like who had never even heard of it or didn't even care about it, but won Best Picture, so like, oh, I'll go see it, whatever. Like, so I mean, there's good to it. It's just you can't get too caught up in all of it, and it is what it is.
I mean, okay, so Black Panther did come away with a couple awards. Came away with Best Costume Design, had Best Production Design, had Best Original Score, which these are cool because they're voted on not just by the general Oscar voting public, it's just by the people who also work in their area.
Yeah.
So that's going to be pretty meaningful. But also, Into the Spider-Verse won the Best Animated. Which I was really excited. Did you see that movie?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Oh, unbelievable. I mean, the animation was just off the charts. I've never seen anything like it before. And the story, I was talking with my wife. She's not a comic person, hero person, genre person, anything. She said, that might be cool. She went and she loved it. And it was because it was a very accessible story. You don't have to know superhero stuff to enjoy the movie.
And it's emotionally resonant, and it like deals with a character who like there's an underlying kind of racial issue to it, but like it does it in a way that it's there, but it's not like, for so many people, like, facing that head on kind of like gives them the willies, but this does it in a way that like it's integrated into the story, and it's not like, so it does so many things so well. Like it's great, and it's people forget that can be great, and Incredibles 2 can be great. Like it's just all these other movies can be great. It's just that Spider-Verse was so, like, especially with expectations and stuff, it was really delivered.
Yeah, it's a kind of thing, like, because they do a lot of there's always been a lot of direct-to-video kind of animated comic book-based movies and stuff. So you kind of, and there's some of them are fantastic.
Yeah.
But for it to reach that level, it really, I think, was a little unexpected. Really.
I mean, it's kind of like when the Lego Movie came out. It's it does things that you didn't expect in a way you didn't expect, with kind of like a look and a feel, and it plants its own flag.
Yeah.
And like the fact that they included Spider-Ham, and just like, and it doesn't throw the movie off, like all of that, because I was worried because I didn't realize that they were going to get into all of these other like Spider-Men, and women, Spider people, but it all worked well, like it all, and like it kept Miles as the heart of the story. So
right. Well, and going into that, like I wanted to go back to what you said about the touching on the racial component of it, of Miles Morales being a Spider-Man, the different issues. The other thing I wanted to bring up was Captain Marvel movie's coming out. 2 weeks, was it? March 8th?
Yeah.
And you may have seen the thing about the trolls artificially hijacking the score on Rotten Tomatoes. Right now it's at a 45%. Now, I would like to think people are smart enough to know that that's bogus, and it's still, especially in the movie hasn't even come out yet.
Yeah. I think the good thing for that is that people are going to see it no matter what. It's a Marvel movie, so it's kind of like they don't care. They'll look at it afterwards and go like, oh gosh.
But what makes me think about it is, like you said, that with Into the Spider-Verse, they integrated the commentary on racial issues really well into the story, and it didn't feel like you're getting bludgeoned with it. It fit, as some people would say. So, how do you think something like this compares? I mean, as far as why are they trolling this? Do you feel?
I think if Spider-Verse was a live action, if they replaced Peter Parker with Miles Morales, you would have seen this.
You think so?
In the live action, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, I'm looking forward to this, like the Homecoming, this one, because I would like to see more of an arc with Peter Parker before we get into the other ones. I want to see, like, now that I kind of am introduced to Miles Morales, I want to see his story. But now that he's kind of established in the cartoon, like, I hope that they let him kind of do that and then figure out everything later, like if they want to like have him take over the live action role or whatever. But like I want to see an arc because we never ever got to see a full arc. We got to see 2 movies of the last one.
Right.
We got to see 3 movies of the one before that. The third movie being foisted on Raimi that he didn't even want to do. So like he didn't want to do it with Venom.
Right.
But with her, she came out and she said this is a feminist film. As soon as she said that, like people got all upset, and it's like, but wait, Wonder Woman's a feminist film. They just didn't tell you that, like.
Right.
But there's just these.
Do you think people are touchy? I mean, it's obviously men we're talking about here, and
I think there's some women.
Maybe some women too.
I think there are absolutely, but not many.
Well, and I think there's probably people around of every, and I think that's part of a human condition. You're just touchy about the things that you feel affect you.
We are. It's the time right now. Like everything is inherently tied to politics, and I think because everything is, it always is, but I think right now is just a powder keg for everything. I think trolls have more of a voice than they used to, because anytime, like, how much pub has this gotten now?
Right.
Instead of like, okay, cool, you a-holes, do your nonsense on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Most people who have like half a thought in their head don't pay a lot of attention to Rotten Tomatoes, and they just go, they figure out themselves. but like let them, do their stuff in the dark. But we keep giving them the spotlight, and then like someone will be like, well, let's interview some of these people about why they feel this way. So they give them.
Well, and I think that's a valid.
Platform.
I think that's a valid question, because I think you want to understand something that I would say we both think is just ludicrous, that people feel this way and feel the need to do this sort of thing. I think it is good to understand where and why where they're coming from and why they're doing it, because I think we have obviously a tendency to kind of pick and choose who we want to be understanding to. I'm not saying forgiving or saying it's okay, but I think that in this case, in my opinion, there's obviously people that feel that, say with Wonder Woman, clearly a feminist movie, but this, with Brie Larson coming out, like you said, right off the bat saying this is a feminist movie, and then really playing it up in the marketing, I think people are sensitive to being, like you just beaten over the head with these things. They want their entertainment to be entertainment. If you slide messages in, that's fine, but don't put it in their face, which is not necessarily the right thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I agree with that, but I think people are overly sensitive to, and that's the same thing with, with not just gender issues, but sexuality issues. The homosexual becoming. I don't know if you call it the homosexual lifestyle. Forgive me if I don't have all the terminology correct. But my heart's in the right spot, right? But that was a big thing too. It's like, why do we have to have, and it's like, it's not in your face. It's just there, and this is something that's been there, and you're not used to being exposed to it.
I think so. For the first part, I think it is good to find out why people feel this way. But the problem is that we have professional trolls now. So these aren't people that like you can sit down and say, oh, why do you honestly think? Oh, well, I don't like Captain Marvel, and I just think of this and that. Like it's I don't like this and I don't like that. And it's, how like this?
So you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't like it either.
And like you said, how are you reviewing a movie that isn't out for review? No one has seen it. So I mean, on that end, it's like I wouldn't give any of them the time of day. It's like if you get someone who like, okay, it's out. I've seen it. I'm a respected. To me, you'd want a respected like film critic. And if they're like, I've seen it. I didn't like it. Blah blah. Okay, cool. What didn't you like? That they have, because they have a voice that they've earned. It's not like some idiot that like is on 4chan or 8chan like it's stupid because it's a girl. Because like here's the thing.
I like girls.
Like here's the thing. 80s. I have a whole catalog of these masculinist movies where it's like a big buff guy with a giant gun saving America.
Weapons, right?
Yeah. Yes. Oh no, he has both guns. He has big muscles. And well, like he's saving America and he's saving the ladies and he's saving all the things. And we had to keep going back to Vietnam and save them. And it's like,
right.
But we didn't.
It was
obsess
white men
over
putting themselves in the hero.
Yeah. We didn't obsess back then over like good or ill. Right. It was just part. I think the problem is that things are so politicized, but it's like,
and they're
gays aren't new, women aren't new, blind people aren't new.
Right.
We're just people are upset because they feel everything is so politicized that they're looking at it and they're like, well, you're making Captain Marvel political. It's like, but it would have inherently been so. You just want them to be quiet about it, and it's like that's kind of messed up because it's kind of like you can be gay, just don't show it. Like don't. It's like no, you be you. Like,
right.
And it's for me. It's like there's a ton of stuff that comes out I don't care about. I just don't. I get over it. Like, do I care about the new Medea movie? I don't care. I never cared about Medea. If 1 million people go see it, awesome.
Yeah,
I don't care. Yeah, like that's the thing. Same with Captain Marvel. If no one sees it, oh well. Like it is what it is, man.
And we all know it's going to make a huge bang.
Yeah.
It's. I think the part of the problem too is that things are coming so fast at people now. I mean, there's an evolution that takes place in culture and humanity, and it's slow, but it's just like technology. It picks up the pace, and I think now it's getting to a point where things are changing rapidly, and people are kind of having a hard time adapting to it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm down with the cause, whatever it is. I want, everybody's equal. You do you. Like what I always tell my sons. You like what you like, and that's fine. But I don't know necessarily what words I'm supposed to use. I don't necessarily know, and I'm pretty comparatively, I think, plugged into this sort of thing. I can only imagine people that are not plugged in must feel like they're in a tornado sometimes, and when you're already, well, I don't want to make a generalization, but when you're already afraid of your place in the world, you're gonna fight back, and people just, it takes time. It just takes time.
And I think a big problem right now is that we are so many of us are basing our views and our opinion on everyone else, on what we see on whatever our given news source is, whatever our friends are saying, our church is saying, our like whomever our idols are saying, instead of taking in the information, stepping back, mulling it all over, and seeing like what you, because again, like when you lay out the facts, it's like people get outraged. It's like about Captain Marvel. I'm outraged. I'm like, okay, so wait. This is a movie about a superhero who just happens to be female. She's still zapping bad guys. She's still saving the day. She's still fighting for the U.S. of A.
Yeah.
What's the problem? Well, I don't like that they say that's feminist. Okay, but if it didn't say it was, and it still was, well, that's different. But it's not. It's just kind of like you'll take that medicine when you're a kid. If it's like, oh, it tastes like Coke. Okay, great. But if it's like, oh, that's Coke syrup, it's gonna taste like syrup. Like, oh, I don't want it.
Right.
We for some reason are, and I think
it's superficial.
And you're right though. It's people feel like they're being forced to change before they're ready to, and some of that really is, I mean, it's people that are so down for the cause that it's you're with me or you're against me, which is never, to me, personally, it's not ever a great way to be.
That tribal instinct.
Because you start making enemies out of people who don't need to be enemies. But I do think it's people that are afraid of like, but it's like, there's not going to suddenly be like 100 whatever if these guys are scared like all the superheroes are going to be women and they're not going to be sexy anymore. This and that's like, it's fine.
Well, then it's not going to be like Captain Marvel's going around beating the hell out of dudes, screaming about the patriarchy. And it's not going to be like that. It's just going to be a superhero movie with a female lead, just like Wonder Woman.
It's feminist because it's a movie about a woman who's a strong woman who like lives her life by her ideals. Like, it's not. It's just like I said, same thing as Wonder Woman. Like Wonder Woman, frankly, probably had a stronger message about it if you looked at it. Like, and people didn't do anything. So.
Well, and the thing I do like, and I think more of this needs to happen, is like the Shazam movie is coming out. It's the one. It's going to be the next hero movie after Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember the exact date of it, but the star of it, Zachary Levi. He came out, had a post on some social whatever, calling people out basically for it and defending Captain Marvel and stuff like that. And I think there needs to be more of that. Obviously, I mean, I think they need big names like this. I think they need regular Joes like you and I. That and it's hard. I remember going getting gas at some place on the highway here or down the highway. Dudes had a real racist, like, we're staying in line, said something super racist behind me. And it's like, do I say something? Do I not say something?
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's always a tough thing to stand up for.
People will say, oh, you have to, but it's like, here's the thing. Idealism and reality aren't the same.
Yeah.
You doing that, especially when you're with your family and stuff.
Oh, totally.
Like, you're calling someone out who's already being aggressive in public. Right. They're going to act aggressively.
Yeah.
And it's like,
is this guy going to care? Is he going to shoot anymore? Is he going to shoot me?
And that's not the way to change his heart.
No.
Honestly, like the only way to change someone's heart is they have to be one, open to it, and two, it's going to take time. And I just wrote a blog about this. To me, it's the idea of the saying of "there's not an atheist in a foxhole." I'm like, sure there aren't, but that's also not faith. Faith comes over time. Like, you're not going to find God in a foxhole like right before you die. Like, you find it over time at the best and worst times. When you don't need them, it's kind of like, cool, you're my friend when you need me. Like, that's the change the same way. It's like, it doesn't happen when someone tells you to change.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's probably I don't want to get too deep into that. We're already a little deeper into the politics than I figured we'd go, but that's all right. I think it's a worthwhile conversation, And they did the same thing with the that last Jedi movie, that last Star Wars.
I was gonna say, like, can you imagine
the exact same thing?
That and that's why I hate that these people are given a platform. Is that and that's just the ignorant. They have reasons, but they're not really. They're surface reasons.
For them, it's a reason.
But I mean, it's such a silly, because truly,
yeah,
hardcore fans. And I don't care that George Lucas went and fooled with the movies, but if any era was going to be like, oh no, heck no, we want money so we can fix his movies, it would have been then, when he went back and he added all the digital effects and all of this stuff into the original movies and made the old versions disappear. Not like, oh, I don't like how they made this movie, they've ruined everything. It's like, bro, it's a space opera. I literally grew up on this stuff.
Yes.
Grew up, saw, like, at least since Empire, all of them in a theater. Like, had all the toys. Like, lived the life. Like, I used to obsess
absolutely
about, and it's funny because I don't even remember where I got information, but, like, where my dream was seeing, like, 7, 8, 9. And, like, everybody kind of knew what 1, 2, 3, because, oh, yeah, like, that Obi-Wan and Anakin got in a fight, and lava, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, so, believe me, I'm a true believer. I have always, but I've reached an age where I'm like, they're still movies. It's not my life. Like, I have a lot of stuff I like. Like, I can be super bummed. I'm super bummed. My feelings are hurt about the Paranormal Activity movies.
Yeah, that's fair.
I want to raise money to redo the last one, because it stuck. It stunk.
Bad.
It was just, I won't even get into it.
Was it not found footage? Was it?
It was like a big lead up to not a satisfying ending in any way. And they had 5 movies to do this, and they just built it up to like, ta-da!
That's a Blumhouse, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want that. Like, if you don't like Last Jedi, but oh well.
Yeah. I mean, it
move
is
on.
sad because
Go like Star Trek.
Well, I mean, it's sad in a way, when you've been waiting for so long and you have astronomical expectations, and you get a little disappointed, and it sucks. But for me, I'm not so very hard on movies. There's very few movies that I will just take a steaming dump on. People like for what it is, take the good parts out, but it's a bummer. But not every movie's gonna jack a grand slam.
I just point out the fact that, like, kids today have it so easy because, again, you and I, we had to wait. Like, after Jedi came out, that was it.
Yeah.
There were no more movies. And then when they were like, oh no, he was like, oh yeah, I'm making more, I'm making 3. We're like, oh my gosh.
Well,
and like,
until the early
Phantom
90s,
Menace. And we all loved Phantom Menace. Whatever people want to tell you, I waited in line.
Yeah.
People flipped out. It was only after it had been out a minute, they're like, oh,
They
maybe
start
it's
talking
not
about it
so
and
great. And I'm
comparing notes.
like, it's still Star Wars. I still love all of them.
Yeah.
Like, it's still
it's
Star
not
Wars.
a bad movie.
Yeah,
It's not everything I hope, but it's not bad.
It's a political movie. That's what's funny is people, it's like, I mean, you can, to me, the big ding on it is he mixed a hardcore political movie with, like, poop humor. And it just, he lost his touch for that stuff. But again, I think I don't know if he had the touch with the Ewoks. Ewoks are awfully cute, then to make them into, like,
well, that was when he started
carnivores
realizing
and
how
stuff.
much money he was making off the toys.
Yeah.
Which, I loved, although as a kid, loved the Ewoks. I was
Oh yeah,
all
no,
in on
they're
the
adorable.
Ewoks.
But yeah,
I wanted to live with them. I wanted to...
but they're weird though because they
Totally.
essentially ate the stormtroopers. You gotta figure.
You think they were...
Oh yeah, they were gonna eat Han.
that's true, 'cause,
Yeah,
like, the helmets
Han
were
and
hanging
Leia
and
and stuff. They're gonna eat them.
That's true, man.
So and yeah, they didn't.
That's what they need is a fan film.
Them just
Ewoks.
eating people.
Eating people. The...
Like that's what happened to the Jedi. They're like, oh, let's go to that.
Yeah.
It's just these little furry bear people, and they're like, oh yeah, come on, hang out. Nom nom nom.
That would be good. That'd be good.
Darth Vader goes there like, oh no, they're good. I'm not even gonna go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's weird when you start because everything's political, but it's weird when people get so high and mighty about things like art that they're like that they want to just like shake the world in half, and it's like, but it's and I love art obviously, and I love movies, and I love all of this fandom and stuff, but like you can just kind of put your hands up in the air and walk away kind of outraged and just keep your outrage to you and your friends, or even if you want to put it out there, but the world doesn't have to change because you don't like something. And that's the thing. And
it'll go on, and then you'll die, and that's all it is.
Yeah,
You'll be
it's like-
something else.
I mean, it is what it is. Like, believe me, there's a lot of movies out there that I had my hopes pinned on that didn't come together, and I'm like, oh, but whatever. I got over it.
Yeah. Well, we probably should wrap up for the day, but just wanted to get out. Okay, so the Captain Marvel coming out on the 8th. There's nothing really coming out this week. Are you going to see Captain Marvel?
I'm super stoked. I'm curious because they keep playing the cat up so much, and the cat has an arc in the comics, so I'm real curious what.
So you know the comics a little bit.
I mean, in broad strokes.
Broad strokes.
I know the wiki.
Right. Well, I think you're more of a horror guy. That's kind of.
I'm honest to gosh, I am in a little of everything. It's just horror is my wheelhouse.
Exactly, and I would say I am the same way, but probably comics and superheroes are my version of your horror.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, I mean, that having said, I mean, I'm always step by step going through these movies. Can't wait for this one to come out.
I'm excited for the last Avengers.
I can't even. I've been waiting for a year.
Somebody raised a good point with Captain Marvel, and it's interesting because it was kind of talking about the hullabaloo, but it was interesting in that it's almost a cheat if she pops up and defeats Thanos because all of these other characters that we've known for so long they went through heck.
Yeah,
went through him, and it almost does feel like a cheat.
It won't be their story arc.
Yeah, and which I'm sure they'll figure something out.
Right.
But it'll be interesting. But yeah,
it will.
I'm very.
That's probably going to be an opening night one. I might have to see it opening night.
Oh my god, that is going to be I remember when the first Batman came out, Batman '89, and standing in like a small theater in a small town, and standing in standing room only to get tickets, and all the shows were selling out and stuff. So it's going to be madhouse for opening weekend for that thing.
Totally worth it.
Just like when Black Panther 2 comes out, that's going to be nuts.
Yeah. That one, I think Black Panther's expectations, what they were, was even bigger.
Oh yeah, and I was super stoked for him to come for that because I think he's a fun character.
Totally.
And I just was super where they finally did something. I'm like, oh cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have somebody like me, a schlubby white dude, Wakanda forever. It's kind of my mom. I took my 60-year-old mom to see it, and she wanted to see it. She thought it looks really cool. And she was totally into it, and that's when you can pull that, you're doing well.
It's a shame that Ryan Coogler didn't get a nomination for the movie yesterday because even though we're wrapping up, but just the fact, that's a heck of a feat to have superhero movie, all that stuff going on, but still the heart of that movie and the emotional impact of Chadwick Boseman and Michael B. Jordan, their characters, and that maintained it through the whole movie of just that essentially were this two sides of the very same coin, and it's neither one was completely right or wrong. It was just so it's a shame that he didn't get noticed for that, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and he probably should have, but I mean they're only going to give one thing for a genre movie. I mean they'll usually clean house in the tech department and stuff like that, but. So, which is a shame, because I think you're right. I think as good of a movie as it was, he probably did even better of a job directing it.
Yeah.
All things considered. So, all right. Well, hey, this is the first episode of Spoiler Sport V1. Gonna come back next week, hopefully, with some more news, some more daffy opinions, and I had a kind of a idea for something to run by. I was thinking maybe doing something like the top 5 Marvel Avengers Endgame theories.
Oh.
Which ones are ridiculous? Which ones are possibilities?
This will probably be news to me too, because
I've been avoiding them.
Yeah, so have I. So
the only one I've seen is apparently there's something about time travel.
That's
been probably the biggest one.
I'm pulling for.
As I keep clicking my pen in front of my.
I'm pulling for Beta Ray Bill to come in at the last second and save the day.
Oh my gosh, how amazing would it be though if he did show up? He could be in the next Guardians of the Galaxy. That'd be cool.
I would.
That's another chat we have to have. We have to talk about James Gunn and him getting kicked off that. So
okay,
we'll put a pin in that one and we'll talk about that next week. So
right on.
Thanks for tuning in. Eventually, I'm going to be saying something like, Check us out on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you feel like giving us a review, give us 5 stars. We'd love you. Till next week, I'm Jason Perdue.
I'm Chris, I guess.
I hope you are. And this has been Spoiler Sport. Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye.